Middle East, you gain money, but you also lose growth. Maina here, currently working at Kenya Airways as the head of engineering services. When I would have left as an engineer then. I would still be an engineer. Actually, there's one time I actually got an opportunity and we had a discussion with my wife. We had a conclusion. If you go away, you get the money, but there's a possibility there are some aspects of your family development that might suffer. There's a time I spent 6 months in KLM, which was in Amsterdam. But I remember one incident. I came back home and got to the door and the door was opened. The guy looked at me, then he ran back. And the words he made quite surprised me. My name's Maina here, currently working at Kenya Airways as the head of engineering services. Head of engineering services, I run a section called engineering services. I am responsible for 4 functions. The first one is called engineering, which has engineering is split into 2 sections. One is aircraft engineering. The other one is propulsion engineering. Those are the guys who are responsible for defining what maintenance needs to be done on aircrafts. Basically the what. Then the next section, basically to be the third section now, is called technical planning. Now, after the maintenance that is required to be done is defined, now the planning section is one that is responsible for making sure that first, this maintenance is planned as and when it will be done. And also they make sure all the resources that are required to make sure these plans are successful are actually done. We call them 4 M's. The resources that are required to make sure the maintenance is successful. It's something that is used across a lot of industries, but 4 M's are, there is man, means the people who are required to make sure this work happens. 2, there's materials. These are the materials that are required to be used during maintenance. And 3, there's machines. Machines is the tools and equipments that will be required to be able to do this maintenance. And finally, it's methods. Methods is basically all the procedures which you require to be able to follow to actually make sure this maintenance is accomplished. Now, after we plan the work, we hand over to another section, which is called maintenance now. It's sometimes called production. Those are the guys now who execute the plan that we've issued with whatever has been defined. And after they have executed this maintenance, then as they're executing this maintenance, they keep records, because everything in aircraft maintenance has to be recorded as is required by laws. So these guys, the last office is called asset services or technical records. These are the guys now who make sure after maintenance has been done, they make sure they collect the aircraft maintenance records, they collect them, and then they archive them. But also they are the ones who are responsible to make sure those records are actually accessible as and when they are required. And they are required for very many different reasons. So largely in a nutshell, that's what my job entails. In terms of staff, I'm responsible for approximately 80 staff who are in all those 4 functions that I'm talking about.
How many years now?
In the company? I joined the company in the year 2004, September. And I joined as a trainee, what we call a graduate trainee. And I've been in that company since then. I've been in various roles because I started as a graduate trainee, then transitioned to being a development engineer. From there on, I became a principal development engineer. Then after that, I transitioned out of engineering, and I shortly did a stint as a technical stores manager. This is where we keep our materials that are used in aircraft maintenance. Then after that, I totally got out of the technical space, and the business was setting up a section for business improvement. It was actually called World Class Operations then, which I changed the name later to Operational Excellence. And this is where we were responsible for making sure we are driving excellence in the way KQ does its business. This was an office that was cutting across all areas. So it was a multi-functional office supporting all areas in the entire of Kenya Airways. So I was supporting both technical and also other areas, because I also supported finance, IT in running their continuous improvement initiatives. Then after that, I transitioned back to engineering development as the manager engineering development. And then after that is when now I later took on the role of head of engineering services. And I know before I actually transitioned to the role I talked about in World Class Operations, I did a stint as an exchange student where I did about 6 months of an exchange program with KLM, the airline KLM, where I was able to see how the same things are run out there in the world, so that I can be able to also bring in the same expertise to Kenya Airways and see how well we are doing against the global standards, and as well implement those areas of learning we could be able to get from that particular exposure. So I know that was tracking back. That was before I actually went to World Class Operations. But then after that, I think I had reached where now I became the head of engineering services, which is what I'm doing till now.
Are you a good engineer?
Am I a good engineer? I know the jury is out there with the people I may have worked with, so I don't run the risk of blowing my trumpet. But I would say on most of the functions that I've taken up, I believe I've done quite a good job. And I know results do speak for themselves. And I know in some key areas, for example, the last role I had before I took this role, which is fairly new, this is basically as a manager engineering development. We did a lot of changeover of the way things were done over there, created accountability, made sure the processes were working the way they should be working. And there are things that were not structured, we structured them properly. And I know to do that, there are quite a number of things you had to do even to make sure that the resourcing is right. So we had to define the right structures, hire the right people. And I believe the results from that particular effort can speak for itself. But also, looking back to when I was an engineer before I was a manager, I would say I was a good engineer because we did a lot of work in finding the right solutions for the airline. And we did support the airline to actually do well, from making sure all the engineering tasks that needed to be done were done to the right standard, and we got the best results, I would say.
Now you're handling 80 people, right?
Yes.
80 people.
Yes.
So that's people management.
Yes.
But initially you were an engineer.
Yes.
Which one do you find challenging? Dealing with people or dealing with machines?
None of them is easy, because even when I was an engineer, you depended a lot on actually dealing with people, right, to be able to get the results that you need to get out. Because if, for example, you define a particular item needs to be done on an aircraft in a particular manner, you have to make sure all the people who are involved in that particular process are aligned and they are pulling their end of the bargain. And we have quite a number of people who are involved. For example, the people who supply the materials, the people who plan the work, the people who actually do the work. And many times you'll also, the same records we are talking about, for you to be able to define some of the things you need to define to be done, you also need to make sure you manage the people who provide you the same records, so they give you what you need in the right time for you to be able to achieve what you needed to achieve. But I think in a nutshell, I find dealing with people has its own unique challenges. The same way, when you're an engineer, you have your own unique challenges. When you have people you are reporting to, you have some level of authority, definitely. And I know that helps a lot. As opposed to when you're an engineer, sometimes you have to depend on some maybe goodwill or influence for them to be able to do what they need to do. As a manager, the authority helps. But also, people are very unpredictable. And the kind of system you create to ensure you get the accountability and the performance that's required to be delivered is met. It requires a lot of different set of skills to be able to manage the people who needs to deliver what all collectively you are supposed to deliver. Although I think I'm lucky, the job I do, the kind of people I work with are fairly self-driven. And when you agree on things most of the times, they do actually work within the boundaries of what you agreed upon. So on very few occasions, you find that you have to resort to methods like discipline to be able to get the performance which you need. So I forgot. Before I went to the role of managing technical stores, there's a role I did as a maintenance shift supervisor. The role then was called check controller. I was in charge of one shift, and now I had technicians and engineers who I was managing in order to be able to make sure that the actual execution of maintenance is done. I told you there's a section called production or maintenance. So I was in one called heavy maintenance. And what we used to do is basically an aircraft has two kinds of maintenance. There is heavy maintenance and there is light maintenance. We were responsible for heavy maintenance. And if you were to look at the analogy of the way cars are maintained, I know Toyota's is simple 5,000 kilometers service, end of story. But I know the other cars that have B checks and A checks. Now, some of them are heavy, some of them are lighter. So for aircrafts, heavy maintenance is the longer service checks, which probably you'll have an aircraft out of service for like a month, and you have to rip everything apart and do a lot of inspections, servicing, and repairing the things that you find. So that's it. The team I was overseeing then were responsible for doing the actual maintenance execution then. So now, comparing to the team in engineering and the team in maintenance, the team in maintenance is harder. They get cheeky, and there are people who will try to sometimes get away with things they should not get away with. They'll skive work sometimes, and you had a much harder work of controlling the teams as opposed to what I'm doing with engineering people. I know, I don't know if this is relevant. The team I oversee right now, all of them actually are required to have an engineering degree. The other team in maintenance do not need to have a degree. Largely, they are required to have a diploma. And I don't know if that makes the difference or not. Because over there, you find some people are good, but there are some people who also need a lot of pushing for them to deliver what they need to deliver. In engineering, it's much easier. Yes.
22 years.
Yes.
Is there a point, well, what I'm trying to ask is, you must have had opportunities to leave. Where did you stay?
Actually, to tell you the truth, I've had opportunities to leave because a lot of my colleagues, maybe as a matter of fact, when we joined as trainees in that year, the year 2004, we joined a group of 12 people. They all left, save from 3 of us who remained. I think there were many factors that I considered. I think I was enjoying my job here. I know what makes people go is the amount of money that was promised over there. But I think I try to do an honest assessment. When I go there, what do I really gain and what do I really lose? Because most of the guys who left were not living locally. Most of them were going abroad, largely in the Middle East. And the truth is, in the Middle East, I think you gain money, but you lose a lot of things. And also, you also lose growth, because most of the time when people go to those places, those organizations may not invest in you in your growth, like what kind of investment KQ does invest in your growth, which is testament. And I know if I look at when I would have left as an engineer then. And probably if I was in those places, I would still be an engineer. Probably I would not have managed to transition to a management role. But also the other factor was family. Because I told you there's a time I spent 6 months in KLM, which was in Amsterdam. I could come back quite oftenly, but I remember one incident. I came back home. I had a little son, and we used to talk on phone when I was away. When I came and got to the door, and the door was opened, so the mother and the son was over there. The guy looked at me, then he ran back. And the words he made quite surprised me, because he told the mother, tunaweza pigia daddy. He doesn't recognize I'm the father because of the short time I've been away. And so one of the consideration when I thought of leaving was, if you go away, you get the money, but there's a possibility that there are some aspects of your family development that might suffer, which was also quite a big consideration. Actually, there's one time I actually got an opportunity, and we had a discussion with my wife. And at the end of the day, I think we had a conclusion. It's not necessarily a very nice thing to leave then. In as much as before, we used to think the money people get out over there is good. And I think the decision I made to this day, I've never regretted it. I think it works out just fine. Yes.
Why did you choose to study engineering, and what makes you good at it?
Can I tell you the truth?
Please.
It's nothing fancy. When I was in high school, my first interests and the courses that I selected had nothing to do with engineering. Actually, wanted to be an accountant or something like that. So actually had selected to do Bachelor of Commerce. And never thought about it too much. But I think after the results for KCSE came up, and I saw I had a wide choice of what to choose from, so I thought maybe I could consider something else. And this depends a lot on what people say how good a career is. I was not those people who are very particular. I want to be this particular person in terms of career or not. I think an opportunity came. I thought I could do a lot of things right now. So 2 things came to mind. One was medicine, and the other one was engineering. It's funny why I didn't do medicine, because there's a guy, a buddy of mine, he had joined university then, and he told me doctors are not paid a lot of money. I think then they were being paid 19,000 as a medical officer. So I thought, I don't think I want that. But then I had mechanical engineering is a good thing. I was good in physics in high school, so I thought maybe it's not a bad thing to try. So when I got into it, yeah.
What are your regrets now after 22 years?
But they personally have come to a point where, by the way, one of the regrets is, sometimes I meet with my doctor buddies. I think they're doing better than me. But it's not really a regret. You're like, fact is, the society we live in is driven a lot by what you can afford, right? What you can afford. Yes. So sometimes you meet guys and you're like, my buddy is driving a Range Rover. and he's a doctor. Maybe if I was a doctor, I could drive a Range Rover. I can't drive a Range Rover right now. So I would say, in terms of regret, not. I know probably that's not a regret as such. But I think probably, I don't want to call them regrets. It's things I could have done differently. Yes. And probably is on the things I could have tried when I was younger. Yes. Because I'm thinking, there's a time you got a job, you have some money, and you're just having fun and probably not developing yourself in very many ways. I think even in the engineering front, I think I could have developed myself better by taking advantage of the time that we had then when we were younger, to be able to pick up many skills, and also to experiment on a lot of things. I think there's experimenting today. I usually feel like if I was young back then, I could have experimented in a lot of things. I mean, anything, even business. I know I've experimented in a few, but I'm thinking I could have taken more risks then than the ones I took. I think at some point I got too comfortable. I didn't try too many things. I would say. But I've come to a point where I've realized in this life, regret does not help you at all. Maybe the way things turned out, there is nothing you can do to turn back the hand of time. It is what it is, or it was supposed to be. Yes, there are things you'd have wanted to do, but they don't bother me today. I've come to a point where I've reconciled with the fact, if I think there are things I could have done better, it's what it is today is what I can do better today for tomorrow. There's a saying that sings, the best time to plant a tree was 25 years ago. The next best time is when? It's today, isn't it? So I try to do better than what I could have done then. I actually wanted to have done a PhD by now. I haven't. I think there's a place where maybe probably I didn't put as much effort to be able to get to that particular position in time. I started my master's. I'm still yet to complete it. I will. But I guess that's one of the things I'd also have wanted to have done by now.
What did I write? My handwriting is terrible. What would you like clients, your customers, to know about planes? Because, we don't really know, like, for instance, if there are delays, and, people think these are like cars, can you just put some part, or we just, let's, we'll fix it tomorrow. What are some of those things you want people who fly to know about aeroplanes from the perspective of an engineer?
Okay. Probably what I would like clients to know about planes is first that safety for airplanes is probably one of the best it can be. In fact, statistics do say that the second safest mode of travel is flying. I don't know if you know the first one.
No.
The first safest mode of travel is an elevator. It's called an elevator, a lift, using a lift. There you've not heard of accidents in a lift, right? So the next safest is flying. And there's a reason why it is safest. We operate in a space where everything you do when operating aircraft is highly regulated. There are minimum things you are required to do. And the maintenance that you usually do on an aircraft is one of the top key things that ensures that flying is actually the safest mode of transport. We spend a lot of time, effort, and money to make sure that aircraft, before it actually takes to the sky, anything that poses a risk of safety is well taken care of. We have maintenances we do, starting from the most frequent. Every takeoff, there is maintenance that we do to ensure that takeoff is safe. There is maintenance that we do every day And all that is defined in the maintenance schedule, which we talked about. There is maintenance that you do probably every 48 hours. Some based, they're controlled with things called flight hours and cycles. There are some you'll do probably from a weekly sense of perspective. There is maintenance you do they're called HX. Those ones probably based on the utilization of the aircraft. You may have to do this probably between every month and every 3 months based on that aircraft type. And also there is a heavy one, which we call C checks for the kind of aircrafts which we operate. And that is done based on the type of aircraft between 1 year to 3 years. But it's usually controlled based on flight hours and flight cycles. Basically, it's how frequently and how long you fly is what determines when that next maintenance is due. Then on top of that, there's something we do called reliability management. As the aircrafts are flying, we are recording the kind of faults and defects we find on aircraft. And usually they are recorded in a system. Then on a daily basis, you are doing something called reliability analysis. As you do reliability analysis, we are looking out for what kind of things fail, how often, and what do you do to make sure you eliminate or reduce these kind of failures. And that may result in probably increasing the number of tasks you do. You might introduce a totally new task based on failures that you're seeing. And sometimes it might mean you might have to modify an aircraft so that you can eliminate some kind of failures which do happen. And by the way, aircrafts are in a continuous state of improvement. Even if it's old, if you see a 30-year-old aircraft today, and you compare to when it was new, it's a totally different aircraft in very many different ways because you keep modifying it based on what you learn as you're operating it and maintaining it. So we do modification to be able to improve the way an aircraft operates. And usually the people who are responsible for those modifications is engineering and maintenance. Yes, so I would say for clients, they should rest assured that we do maintain our aircrafts in accordance with what is required by the law, and they are as safe as any aircraft that's flying in this world that is maintained in the same manner.
Of all your fleets
Yes.
of aircraft, which one closely mirrors your temperament?
My temperament. First, I would have to define what my temperament is.
Yes.
I think I'm calm. I do not jump to action before making very good considerations. I think I'm fairly stable. That's how I would define my temperament. I know I have a situation that actually myself I can see I'm fairly stable. And I think the aircraft I would say that mirrors my temperament is an aircraft we used to operate that was called a Boeing 777. We still do have some, although we are not operating. They are being operated by someone else. It was a very stable aircraft with very few reliability issues as an aircraft. And I would say, based on that reason, from a stability perspective, a Boeing 777.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the highlights of your career?
Okay. Maybe some of the highlights of my career, probably some of the achievement I've had in my career. I know there's some things we've done under my watch. When I was the manager engineering development, there's some things that even got would I say national acclaim, or was it even global? Because there's some projects we've done. During COVID, for example, we initiated a project to repurpose some of our aircrafts from passenger to carrying cargo. We call them freighter. Because business during COVID was for passengers actually had almost gone to nothing, and we had grounded a lot of aircrafts because people were not flying, but there was a lot of business for cargo. So we took in an initiative to look at different ways of repurposing our aircraft to be able to make them to be having some utility. And we did a project to convert the 787s that we have into cargo planes temporarily. And I think that was a project I would say we were proud of. It was quite successful. And I know it's even got some media coverage across Kenya, probably even beyond Kenya. I think that's one. But I think also quite a number of achievements. There are quite a number of improvements which I have initiated and driven in the various roles that I've been. We, in the office that I was holding before, okay, in fact, just in the recent past, not even, let me not go far. While I was still the head of engineering services, I was charged with the responsibility of making sure we used to have an approval to carry out maintenance on European registered aircrafts. And then we needed to, then we suspended it some times ago, and we needed to get back to it. So I was appointed, let me say I was appointed as a project manager for that. And I know initially, the job I'd been given is basically make sure we get back EASA certification. But on reviewing what my role was, I actually realized for us to be able to get EASA, we need to do a lot of transformation of the entire technical division in the way we did a lot of things. So I oversaw a project which took quite some time. It took probably almost a year to do. And we identified a lot of improvements which we need to do for us to be able first to acquire EASA and also to operate efficiently as engineering and maintenance department. It was a multidisciplinary, because it was cutting across all the section within technical department, and I oversaw that, and we were able to drive the transformational journey from where we were to a lot of improvements, which are helping us even today, and even eventually we were able to secure that EASA approval. Today, we actually can and do carry out maintenance for aircrafts registered under EASA. EASA is a European regulatory authority, and they usually have a requirement: if an aircraft is registered and operating in Europe, you cannot maintain it unless you have this approval. And we were able to acquire that approval. And I know it's also a money-making opportunity for Kenya Airways because we have a license to be able to secure business from European operating aircrafts.
If your life is a pie chart, okay, and you divide it in little portions, what portion does your job take, and describe other portions in this pie chart?
Probably it's where I grew up from or wherever it is, but I'm definitely passionate about farming. I would say I'm a farmer of many things. So I would say it's something that when I want to decompress, I go to, because I do farming of a lot of things, from sheep to coffee to horticulture. And it's something when I'm away from here is what I do most of the times, because I'll retreat to the mountain and oversee those kind of things that I'm actually interested in. I think that's one. I'm also, I know this still sounds like engineering. I'm also passionate about, let me say, car maintenance. Actually, right now, one of the things I would like to do, it's only that sometimes time does not allow, is restoration of classic cars. It's something I've thought about quite a lot. I wouldn't say I have done it, but it's something I intend to start to be something I'll be doing. I actually have a place I've already secured to start something. It can be both a business and a passion. Yes.
Lastly, describe Francis at 60.
Francis at 60. There's one thing I've come to conclude. I don't think there is anything like retirement. I know when you reach retirement, when you reach 60, you retire. I personally do not want to look at it that way. I want to look at it as still a place. I would still be doing something meaningful and of value, both to the society and probably myself financially, wherever I would be. Probably might just be a shift from maybe working in this particular organization and doing something else. I know the other thing I would like to achieve at 60. I know it's a journey I'm starting on, and this is a fitness journey. At 60, I would want to be the kind of guy who would run a marathon and complete it.
Marathon.
And still be fine, yes. So I would want to be a guy who is still very active from our working perspective, and as well as physically as well. And I hope to still have a lot of vitality at that age.
What do people ask you when they learn that you work for KQ? What's the most common question they ask you?
They ask about planes. People are excited about planes and they want to know how the planes work. But then one of the questions they ask me, but they're the most common questions, can you fly a plane? They do that a lot. They do that a lot, but that starts a conversation on a lot of things about planes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Cool. In fact, the other day, somebody asked me, can you groomish a plane? Yeah. Yeah. Which we can. Which we can. Oh. If you're in engineering and maintenance, you actually know what is required to probably operate an aircraft. It's only that you do not have a license to fly it. And the practice, definitely need to practice. Not even practice. For you to be allowed to fly, you have to go through a process of training and getting the right certification of various things, which would allow you to fly. But what a pilot does to make the aircraft fly, we do know.
When an aircraft is grounded, what are some of the reasons that keeps it grounded?
Okay. When a plane is grounded, we need to understand what it means by an airplane is grounded. Usually there are very many reasons that cause the aircraft to be grounded, but all of it usually starts from a defect. And an aircraft is bound to have defects because of its complexity, just like the way a car has defects as you operate it, and you can imagine how complicated an aircraft is compared to a car. So what happens? Usually most of the time, the defect will first be detected by a pilot first when it's operating. And usually the pilot will see that defect on his screen as he's operating the aircraft. He cannot go until this particular defect is analyzed, and either it's resolved or it's deemed it's acceptable to fly with it as it is. But all that is guided by standard procedures which are documented, and they are manuals. Because what happens if you get a defect on an aircraft, the pilot writes it down. When he writes it down in a document called a tech log, then the engineer now takes over from there. He looks at the way the defect is written down, and he will consult a manual called a fault isolation manual. But also in some aircrafts, there is an aircraft maintenance manual. And he will go look at what is... Usually aircrafts are quite clever. They'll say what the defect is. They'll even give you a code through which you can be able to consult your manual and see this defect requires the following to be done to be able to identify what's the problem, basically troubleshooting. And once you go through the process of troubleshooting with defined in manual, you are able to identify what has failed. Now, what has failed can either be fixed without requiring a part, and you would go, or it might require a part. So if it requires a part, usually you may or may not have the part in your store. If you do not have the part in your store, that means you are grounded. Now coming around to the word grounded. You are grounded until you are able to secure that particular part. There are some defects which you can actually fly with. They are the ones that do not pose any safety risk to the aircraft, and they are defined in a document called maintenance equipment list. So when the engineer sees what defect pilot has written, he may look at it and see if he cannot be able to fix it, and it's allowed in the maintenance equipment list, then he will write that down in the same tech log and raise something called an aircraft deferred defect, which allows the pilot to fly, and it usually has a limited time within which it needs to be resolved, and it's all documented. So that way, the aircraft will not be grounded, it will fly until when it will be possible to fix it. As well, it's within the limits within which it needs to be fixed. So there's a situation where maybe a big component, let me call it a component like an engine, has failed. And if an engine has failed, usually you do not necessarily always have an engine in stock to be able to put it on. Even installation of an engine is something that might take, based on the aircraft, 3 to 4 days to actually install one engine, remove and install. So that means first you need to be able to secure an engine and then take time to install it. And now, based on how long you can be able to take to get an engine, you might be grounded for the time within which you may be able to get this particular engine. Yes, because sometimes you don't have it, you have to source for it, or you have to wait for it to go through maintenance before it comes back. There's something called engine maintenance called a shop visit. Typically, a shop visit, if you have to take the engine to shop visit today, usually it might have a turnaround time of 90 days. But it also depends on whether there is a place to take the shop visit, because many times you'll find shops are full and you have to wait your time for the shop to be inducted into shop.